If you are serious about growing your impact and your income as a team leader in tech, and you don't have a clear, proven plan of action that can get you to achieve this, you're likely going up and end up like most managers. Managers who focus on all the wrong things that will never actually make and create results, career progression, and money. So in this video, I'm going to give you the exact system I use to build high-performing, confident, and autonomous teams while navigating the biggest risk for any business: the human factor. Most team leads think their team is the problem. They say things like they are not productive or proactive enough, they don't take ownership, or they don't communicate properly. But in the most cases, that's not actually true. You don't have a bad team. What you have is a dysfunctional system that slowly breaks performance over time. And the tricky part is, it doesn't look broken at first. People are busy, meetings are happening, tasks are moving forward, everything seems fine. But underneath, things are misaligned, trust is low, and performance is quietly declining. In this video, I want to walk you through the 5 dysfunctions that destroys teams from the inside, why they happen, and what you should actually fix as a team lead. Because if you don't address these, you will keep having the same problems again and again and again, just with different people. I have been leading tech teams for more than a decade, and over the last 6 years, I have trained and mentored more than 2,000 team leads. Different companies, different industries, different team sizes, but the patterns are almost always the same. Teams don't fail because they lack skill, they fail because of how they work together. Let's start with the first one. The first dysfunction is the absence of trust, but not in the way most people think about it. Most people define trust as, I trust this person will do their job. That's not really trust, that's predictability. I trust you deliver a specific result within a specific context. Real trust in team is vulnerability. It's when someone feels safe enough to say, I don't know, I made a mistake, I fucked up, I need help, I am stuck, without worrying that it will be used against them. And this is where most teams and team leads quietly break, because instead of admitting uncertainty, people start playing confidence. They nod in meetings even when they don't fully understand, they avoid asking stupid questions, they fix problems in isolation instead of asking for help. And what happens? Small issues become big problems. Mistakes get hidden instead of solved. Learning slows down because nobody wants to look weak or make mistakes. You don't see it immediately, but you can feel it. Progress is slower than it should be. The same mistakes keep repeating. People look busy but not effective. That's low trust. That's low psychological safety, which is the first stepping stone if you want to build a cohesive, effective team. The second dysfunction is the fear of conflict. I know that conflict as a word have that negative connotation, but for the sake of clarity, let's use the word conflict more like a heated discussion with opposing opinions and a bit higher emotions. And this one is dangerous because it looks like a healthy team. Meetings are calm, nobody interrupts each other, everyone is kind of aligned, and it sounds good, right? Actually, it's not, because real alignment requires friction. If nobody's challenging ideas, it means people are holding back. They don't want to disagree, they don't want to create tension, they don't want to be seen as difficulty member. So instead of saying, actually this doesn't make sense, or this approach is risky, or I disagree with this direction. I remember one training with engineering leads, a full room of very smart engineering managers whose team were building financial solutions. And they shared very interesting situation. Every Monday, they had a leadership sync at 10 a.m. where all the managers of the company met to align, from technology to finances, from marketing to HR, everyone. And the meeting every single time went perfectly. Everyone achieving goals, no problems that are not solvable, high morale, inspiring motivation, everyone is like super professional, no disagreements. But then engineering leads had their own sync at 11 a.m. just between technology managers, and once everyone joins, they had like 5 minutes of what the fuck we just heard. It's not nearly done. There are so many risks. We are achieving goals, maybe in those bastards' dreams. The psychological safety in this meeting was completely different. They are not afraid to challenge each other, speak about uncomfortable topics, give and receive feedback, and in the end of the day, really improve. And this is how avoiding conflict happens. People stay quiet and the conversation becomes shallow. You end up making decisions based on partial thinking, not the best thinking. And then later you see passive resistance. Lack of energy, slow execution. People didn't actually agree, they just didn't speak up. And even worse, the real conversations move underground. Slack, direct messages, private chats, complaints after meetings, that's when the politics starts. Not because people are bad, but because the environment doesn't allow honest disagreement. The third dysfunction is a lack of commitment. Now, this one is subtle because on the paper, also everything looks committed. Decisions are made, everyone says sounds good, plans are documented, but when it's time to execute, things slow down. People hesitate, priorities shift quietly, energy drops. Why? Because commitment, it's not about saying yes. It's about believing in the decision enough to push it forward. And that only happens when people feel involved in the process. If someone feels ignored in a discussion, they may agree publicly, but mentally they disconnect. And then when things go wrong, which they always do at some point you hear, I knew this wouldn't work. We shouldn't done that differently. That's not the hindsight. That's a lack of commitment from the very beginning. Strong teams don't need full agreement. They need clarity and buy-in. Even if someone disagrees, they still move forward with full energy. That's the real commitment. And if you want to explore how to increase ownership in your own team or how exactly work with any of the dysfunctions in your leadership role, I do have a few spots available for my one-on-one team leadership mentorship, where I work directly with managers to build their skills, mindset, and careers. Check the description of this video for more information. The fourth dysfunction is the lack of accountability. This is where most teams start to rely too much on the leader. You become the one chasing everything, following up, checking progress, reminding people of deadlines. And it feels like if I don't push this hard enough, nothing happens. So you push more, but that creates a hidden problem. The team becomes dependent on you, and instead of owning outcomes, they wait for direction. Instead of challenging each other, they escalate everything to you. And over time, standards drop because nobody wants to call someone else out. It feels uncomfortable, it feels confrontational, it feels like not my place. What happens then? Mediocre work gets accepted, deadlines slip, small problems get ignored until they become big ones. And high performing teams work differently. They don't wait for the manager to step in. They hold each other accountable. They say, this is not good enough. You said you would deliver this, what's blocking you? Not aggressively, that with direction, with assertiveness, with that assertive energy, because they care about the outcome and they trust each other enough to have those hard and uncomfortable conversations. The fifth dysfunction is inattention to results, and this is where everything collapses because now people are no longer focused on team outcome. They focus on their own work, their own tasks, goals, and their own image. You start hearing things like, well, my part is done. Or no, that's not my responsibility. That's not my problem. I delivered what was asked. But the final result, still not good enough because nobody owns the bigger picture. And this is how teams slowly turns into silos. Everyone is working, but not really working together. And then, performance stalls, not because people are lazy, but because the system rewards individual completion, not collective success. Now, here is the important part. These dysfunctions are not separate. They are all connected. No trust leads to no conflict. No conflict leads to no commitment. No commitment leads to no accountability. No accountability leads to poor results. It's a chain, and most leaders try to fix it at the very end. They push for results, they push for performance and accountability, but they ignore the root causes, which is trust, psychological safety. So, what you should do instead? First, stop trying to fix performance directly. Fix the environment. Create a space where people can be honest without feeling exposed. Talk with them in private, acknowledge their performance, share honest feedback, show situations where you as a leader are also not perfect and you make mistakes, correct them and learn. Second, encourage disagreement. Not chaos, but healthy tension, because better conversations lead to better decisions. Actually, make it legal to talk about uncomfortable topics, as harder conversations and then train yourself to keep the tension between the answers so the solution appear. Third, make clear decisions and communicate them properly, even if they are not perfect, because movement creates clarity. Fourth, build peer accountability so the team doesn't rely on you for everything. And at the end of the day, your job is not to control the team, but to create the right environment. You can do that by facilitating daily check-ins focused on progress and challenges, not only status updates. Also, clearly communicate ways of working, quality standards, and goals. It's to build a team that works, even if you are not there. And if your team feels slow, disconnecting, or frustrating to manage, it's probably not a people problem. It's a system problem. Fix the system and the team will follow. By the way, if you want a guidance on how to build such a system practically in your case, you can check the link below about my mentorship, where I help team leads do exactly that. And if you want to know how exactly to reflect and why it is important, you should check this video next, where I explain how to learn any leadership skill so fast it feels illegal.